Welcome back, all you movie lovers. You're listening to Real Talk, the show where we dive into the magic, madness, and mayhem of cinema, one reel at a time. I'm your host, Josh Bell, and today we're continuing our journey through the uniquely stylized, often surreal world of Tim Burton. If you're joining us for the first time, we've been working through Burton's career, covering each of his films in order of release, to get some true sense of how his distinctive vision and thematic obsessions evolve over time. Burton's films are known for being memorable and sometimes polarizing, and today's feature is no exception. Today we're looking at Mars Attacks, a film that's as outrageous, funny, and peculiar as its title suggests. Now, if you're familiar with Tim Burton, you know he doesn't shy away from embracing the unusual and the macabre. Released back in 1996, Mars Attacks falls right in the middle of his career and gives us a rare blend of sci-fi satire and Burton-esque humor. This isn't a gothic fairy tale like Edward Scissorhands or a twisted horror fantasy like Beetlejuice. This time, Burton takes his love for the bizarre into the realm of alien invasions, with a full-blown homage to the cheesy, campy, sci-fi B-movies of the 1950s. Mars Attacks is unique, even in a filmography that is filled with strange, quirky worlds. It's Burton, at his silliest, his most satirical, taking an A-list cast and letting them play a series of over-the-top characters thrown into the chaos of an alien invasion. This film is a love letter to the drive-in classics that clearly inspired him, and it's packed with his usual mix of dark humor and keen satire. You'll find political jabs, ridiculous one-liners, and some delightfully over-the-top performances, all wrapped up in that vibrant, strange style that only Burton can deliver. For many, Mars Attacks is Burton at his most indulgent, and it wasn't a universally beloved hit by any means, but personally, I've got a soft spot for this one. I'll reveal my score later in the episode, but I'll stay right up front. I enjoyed it far more than most people. If you're on the fence about this movie, maybe I'll change your mind by the end, or at the very least, make you see it in a new light. So strap in, grab some popcorn, and let's dive head first into the chaos and comedy of Mars Attacks. The plot of Mars Attacks might be straightforward, but it's also packed with some of the weirdest and funniest scenes Tim Burton has put on screen. The movie kicks off with a mysterious fleet of flying saucers arriving from Mars, creating both curiosity and panic among the citizens of Earth. Soon, world leaders are faced with the ultimate diplomatic test, establishing first contact with a seemingly peaceful alien race. Leading the charge is President James Dale, played by the iconic Jack Nicholson, who's both optimistic and eager to welcome the Martians, despite growing unease from his advisors. But Burton quickly throws a wrench into the peace talk dream. During an elaborate welcome ceremony, the Martians reveal their true intentions with an unforgettable twist. They have no interest in peace. Instead, they unleash pure chaotic destruction. These Martians, with their giant exposed brains and mischievous grins, prove to be wicked pranksters who seem to delight in humanity's shock and horror. They vaporize citizens and landmarks alike, zapping away anyone in their path. And in one of the film's funniest and darkest touches, they even use a translator box that mockingly reassures humans while they go on a rampage. As the invasion intensifies, the story weaves between an eclectic ensemble of characters, each dealing with the chaos in their own way. We meet Art Land, a sleazy Las Vegas casino owner, also played by Nicholson, who's hilariously unfazed by the destruction as long as his profits aren't hurt. Then there's General Decker, the belligerent military officer eager to blow the Martians to bits, a once famous boxer named Byron Williams who gets caught in the crossfire, and even a TV reporter and his girlfriend who find themselves hilariously and tragically separated by the Martians' mayhem. We also follow a typical trailer park family whose young son unexpectedly becomes a hero, and Professor Donald Kessler, a high-minded scientist who believes the Martians are an advanced race and ends up learning the hard way how wrong he is. The humor here is dark, with a tone that's unmistakably Burton, blending shocking alien antics with a satirical take on humanity's response to a crisis. The Martians themselves are far from being complex antagonists. They're more like schoolyard bullies, armed with futuristic weapons, reveling in destruction for the sake of it. And in true Burton style, the film celebrates the outsider characters, and many of these oddball personalities, be it the unlikely heroes from the trailer park or the misunderstood boxer, bring an underdog spirit to the madness. Burton manages here to balance absurdity and spectacle, all while keeping the story moving at a brisk pace. Even though it is a parody, Mars Attacks has all the hallmarks of a classic Burton film. A cast of misfits, a playful yet dark sense of humor, and a plot that wholeheartedly embraces the absurd. Tim Burton's fingerprints are unmistakable in Mars Attacks, and evident from the very first frame. The visuals alone scream Burton in every scene, embracing the quirky, off-kilter style that transforms the alien invasion genre into something both surreal and deeply humorous. The Martians, with their bulging brains, skeletal frames, and sinister grins, are exaggerated and cartoonish in a way that fits Burton's love for characters who are both bizarre and memorable. Unlike the gothic, muted color palette we see in films like Beetlejuice or Edward Scissorhands, Mars Attacks leans into a vibrant, almost garish color scheme. The bold color choice is perfect for Burton's homage to 1950s sci-fi B-movies, giving the film a retro quality that makes it feel both nostalgic and fresh. Burton's thematic signatures are on full display here, even if they're presented in a different tone. The classic Burton theme of the outsider is turned on its head. Instead of one misunderstood character, we're now looking at all of humanity as the outsider, collectively standing in opposition to the Martians. Yet, despite the antagonists, the Martians themselves are oddly captivating, embodying Burton's fascination with otherness. They're not terrifying monsters or intellectual conquerors. They're practically pranksters showing up on Earth with the gleeful intent to destroy, not out of malice, but sheer mischievous delight. The fantastical elements are also here, with special effects that Burton chose to make intentionally campy. The use of CGI was fairly new in 1996, and while Burton could have opted for realistic effects, he instead embraces a style that made the Martians look like they'd been ripped straight from a pulp comic or a vintage sci-fi magazine. This decision allowed Burton to enhance the absurdity of the film, blurring the line between parody and tribute. In the context of his career, his approach feels almost experimental for Burton. He's exploring what technology can do for his storytelling, while keeping the visuals firmly grounded in his love for the bizarre. A unique aspect of Mars Attacks in Burton's filmography is its playful yet bleak depiction of humanity. Now, Burton has never shied away from darker themes, but here he presents humanity's shortcomings, from political blunders to petty squabbles, in an almost slapstick fashion. The film is both a celebration and a critique of humanity, highlighting our absurdity in the face of a disaster and reflecting the chaotic, unpredictable nature of Burton's worldview. The result is a film that some might find too chaotic or bleak, yet it undeniably stands as one of Burton's more daring works in terms of both style and tone. In Mars Attacks, Burton's directorial style doesn't just serve the story, it is the story. He allows the chaotic visuals and themes to carry us through an experience that is as much about the atmosphere as it is about plot. The film is wild, visually unpredictable, and embraces Burton's sense of playful doom, a signature that not every audience will appreciate, but one that leaves a lasting impact on those of us who do. let's take a look at some of the stellar performances in Mars Attacks. With a cast as star-studded as this one, each actor brings something memorable to the table, contributing to the film's strange, over-the-top vibe. Burton managed to assemble an impressive lineup, including Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Annette Bening, Danny DeVito, Pierce Brosnan, Sarah Jessica Parker, and others, each of whom bring their A-game to Burton's vision of a Martian apocalypse. Jack Nicholson is the standout here, playing not one, but two roles, President James Dale and Art Land, the sleazy Vegas casino owner. Nicholson's performances here are larger than life, and he really leans into the cartoonish quality that Burton is aiming for, giving us two very different characters, both delightfully eccentric. As President Dale, Nicholson captures a certain bumbling optimism, trying to balance the pressures of a Martian invasion with his sense of duty. He's both comically inept and oddly sympathetic, a mix that fits perfectly with the satirical edge. Meanwhile, as Art Land, Nicholson embodies the greedy, carefree spirit of Las Vegas, seemingly oblivious to the chaos around him. Watching Nicholson navigate these dual roles with such gusto adds a memorable dynamic to the film, and his exaggerated style is a perfect match for Burton's absurd vision. Annette Bening and Glenn Close are also key players here, each delivering performances that underscore Burton's critique of human vanity and gullibility. Bening plays Barbara, a New Age enthusiast caught up in her own spiritual journey amidst the alien invasion. Her character feels like a satire of the Hollywood wellness trend, blending superficial optimism with a lack of real awareness. Glenn Close plays the First Lady, whose vanity and elitism contrast sharply with the president's more down-to-earth cluelessness. Close's character practically floats through the film, embodying a satirical high society figure who, with a cold, unaffected manner, is both hilarious and fitting for the tone Burton's going for. Other notable performances include Pierce Brosnan as Professor Donald Kessler, the well-intentioned scientist who believes the Martians are advanced beings here to teach us. Brosnan's sophisticated charm and unwavering optimism make his character both endearing and tragically out of touch. Sarah Jessica Parker plays a vapid TV host, Natalie Lake, whose focus on superficiality ultimately leads to one of the film's most iconic and absurd transformations. And then there's Danny DeVito in a small but memorable role as a rude, fast-talking gambler, playing into his own comic style while adding a bit of extra flavor to the cast. And no discussion of a Tim Burton film to this point would be complete without acknowledging Danny Elfman's score, which is crucial in setting the film's tone. Elfman leads heavily into the classic sci-fi sounds, giving us this eerie, theremin-inspired soundtrack, reminiscent of 1950s alien invasion movies. This choice isn't just a nod to genre conventions. It's essential in making the Martians feel like something from a twisted Saturday matinee. The music is at once playful and menacing, perfectly capturing the chaos the aliens unleash. Elfman's score amplifies the Martians' mischief, making them feel like more than just antagonists. They're like chaotic forces of nature, brought to life by the music's sinister energy. Together, these performances and collaborations elevate Mars Attacks from a simple parody to a multi-layered, chaotic spectacle. Each actor plays a role that highlights the absurdity of the human characters in contrast to the Martians' gleeful destruction. While Elfman's music ties it all together with a classic sci-fi twist, this ensemble and the lively score allow Burton's unique blend of satire and spectacle to shine, making Mars Attacks an unforgettable cinematic experiment. Although Mars Attacks wears a comedic, almost farcical mask, it taps into some surprisingly profound themes, especially about identity, isolation, and cultural clash. Burton uses the Martians not merely as alien invaders, but as reflections of our own human flaws, embodying our darker instincts, our love of chaos, and our occasional indifference to life. The Martians represent an exaggerated version of humanity's primal side. They laugh, jeer, and wreak havoc simply because they can. By mirroring these tendencies, Burton uses them as a form of satire, prompting us to question if we're really as far removed from these monstrous aliens as we'd like to believe. One of Burton's recurring themes, the outsider, is woven throughout the film, but in a fascinating twist. Instead of focusing on a lone misfit, here the entire human race finds itself in the role of the outsider, collectively helpless, confused, and outmatched by an alien culture that has no interest in understanding us. The Martians are the ultimate others, presenting a warped reflection of humanity. But they're not isolated or misunderstood. They're willfully destructive, embodying a clash of cultures. That leaves humanity scrambling. In their total disregard for Earth's values and culture, the Martians reflect the darkest part of humanity. The side that takes without understanding, destroys without remorse, and finds satisfaction in superiority. Burton's satire digs especially deep into the naivete and vanity of humanity's institutions, portraying government and military leaders as gullible, self-serving, or comically ineffective. We see a clear critique of a political optimism, as well as an amusing, cynical take on the faith humanity places in diplomacy and reason. The president's hopeful attempts to communicate with the Martians are laughably futile, showcasing our tendency to expect rationality from forces that are anything but rational. The absurdity of political figures attempting to reason with beings who care only for chaos serves as a comment on our often misplaced belief in humanity's ability to control the uncontrollable. Perhaps the most interesting theme here is the inevitability of conflict. No matter how well-intentioned humanity's diplomacy may be, throughout the film, leaders attempt to reason with the Martians, but to no avail. The Martians are chaotic beings who bring devastation simply because they find it amusing. In the end, humanity's survival isn't the result of any great triumph of human resilience or ingenuity. It's almost accidental, a fluke of fate. This random, absurd outcome highlights Burton's perspective on life's unpredictability and the chaotic nature of existence. Rather than portraying a hero's journey or a tale of bravery, Mars Attacks suggests that survival is often a matter of luck or timing, with little rhyme or reason to it. In this way, Mars Attacks speaks to a darker existential message that sits beneath the humor. Humanity's survival, despite all our efforts to prevent conflict, serves as a reminder of how fragile our place in the universe is. In Burton's worldview, there's an inevitability to conflict, a sense that life is about triumphing over obstacles, more about enduring the chaos that life throws our way. The fact that humans live to see another day is almost a cosmic joke, one that reinforces the randomness of our survival. By using a comedic tone to explore themes of destruction, naivety, and survival, Burton invites audiences to laugh at the chaos while contemplating its implications. Mars Attacks may seem like a playful romp, but its dark undertones and its reflection on humanity's flaws make it one of Burton's more subtly complex works. A satire with layers that encourage audiences to look deeper, beyond the laughs, and into a mirror that reflects our own absurdities. When Mars Attacks hit theaters in 1996, its reception was, to put it mildly, a bit chilly. Critics were split, While some appreciated Tim Burton's unique sense of humor and bold visual style, others found the film's offbeat approach too strange, almost abrasive. Many expected a blockbuster spectacle, but Mars Attacks subverted those expectations with its tongue-in-cheek, B-movie inspired style and dark, absurdist tone. For some critics, the film was an amusing genre experiment, while others felt it missed the mark, veering too far into bizarre territory. Burton's decision to use over-the-top cartoonish violence, combined with a sense of humor that leaned heavily on satire, left many unsure of what to make of it. One factor in Mars Attacks' mixed reception was its timing. Released the same year as Independence Day, Mars Attacks offered a very different take on the alien invasion story. Where Independence Day went for intense action, soaring patriotism, and feel-good heroism, Mars Attacks aimed for satire, poking fun at genre conventions and human absurdities with an ironic, even cynical twist. In contrast to Independence Day's portrayal of a unified global front against aliens, Mars Attacks depicted humans as bungling, gullible, and ultimately helpless in the face of total chaos. It was the anti-blockbuster, a film that actively subverted the formula of success at the time, which led to a lukewarm response from audiences expecting a more traditional sci-fi epic. Financially, Mars Attacks wasn't a hit either. It grossed a modest amount at the box office, but failed to recoup its budget in the US. The lack of commercial success was another reason some critics dismissed it as a misfire. However, the film's irreverent style and campy spirit resonated with a particular niche, and slowly but surely Mars Attacks began its ascent to cult status. Over the years, Mars Attacks has come to be seen in a different light. Its humor, once considered too quirky or even mean-spirited, has aged well for audiences who enjoy Burton's distinctively offbeat style. Fans now appreciate how Mars Attacks mocks the seriousness with which we often take ourselves, making it a surprisingly insightful piece of social commentary, disguised as an alien invasion satire. The slow burn appreciation has helped the film develop a dedicated fan base, particularly among those who see it as a love letter to 1950s sci-fi, as well as an entertaining critique of human folly. Mars Attacks has influenced pop culture too, especially in how it blends dark humor with genre satire. Its campy style and exaggerated Martian design have inspired references in TV shows, comic books, and there's even memes out there. The Martians' distinctive appearance, their large brains, grinning skull-like faces, and over-the-top outfits have become iconic in their own right, often recognized even by those who haven't seen the film. Today, Mars Attacks is a reference point for sci-fi parodies, a precursor to other works that would have a similarly irreverent approach to genre tropes. Its cult status also highlights a shift in how audiences appreciate Burton's work. What once felt too unconventional has now become something celebrated, a testament to his boldness in pushing the boundaries of mainstream cinema. Mars Attacks may not have been a box office hit, but its impact has grown as audiences have come to value its quirky humor and satirical bite, cementing its place as a beloved oddity in Tim Burton's filmography. Now let's go behind the scenes and look at some stories that make Mars Attacks even more intriguing. Now, Burton originally wanted to use stop-motion animation for the Martians, a nod to the classic sci-fi films he admired, particularly those by Ray Harryhausen, whose signature style helped really define the genre. Burton envisioned that old-school tactile animation style to capture the vintage 50s sci-fi vibe. However, due to budget and time constraints, the stop-motion approach had to be scrapped, and Burton reluctantly turned to CGI. This switch ended up giving the film an unexpectedly quirky and campy aesthetic. The CGI, which was a bit rudimentary by today's standards, made the Martians look cartoonish and surreal, which ultimately works in the film's favor, amplifying its humor and outlandish style. Another fun fact, Mars Attacks was based on a series of trading cards released in 1962 by the Topps Trading Card Company. The cards were a wild mix of grotesque illustrations and a storyline involving Martians invading Earth, complete with outrageous violence and dark humor. Burton, a fan of retro sci-fi and pop cultural oddities, was drawn to the cards' bold, irreverent style and used them as the foundation for the film's plot and tone. The trading cards themselves had stirred up some controversy when they were first released, with parents at the time worried about the graphic nature of the illustrations. Decades later, Burton translated the same edgy humor into his film, with plenty of campy violence and outlandish situations that would make any sci-fi fan proud. Now, a fun bit of casting trivia. Jack Nicholson, who we talked about playing both James Dale and the slimy casino mogul Art Land, was actually Burton's top choice for multiple roles, as Burton imagined Mars Attacks with an ensemble cast where a handful of actors would play multiple characters. Nicholson reportedly loved the idea and would have been game for even more roles if the script had called for it. Burton was inspired by the big ensemble cast of disaster films from the 70s like The Towering Inferno and Airport, which often featured a variety of famous faces. And in true disaster film style, Mars Attacks features an all-star ensemble cast, with Burton filling out each absurd role with a big-name actor, each of whom was eager to bring their own comedic touch to the film's satire. One surprising behind-the-scenes tidbit is that Mars Attacks wasn't intended as a parody of Independence Day, even though it feels like a complete send-up of the big-budget, patriotic alien invasion genre. In reality, Mars Attacks was already in the works when Independence Day began production, and the two films just happened to release within months of each other. But while Independence Day presented a serious, action-packed take on the alien invasion with themes of American heroism and patriotism, Mars Attacks flipped it on its head, embracing absurdity and chaos with its dark humor. It's one of the moments of serendipity in film history where the timing just adds another layer of irony to Burton's playful spoof on humanity's attempts to confront the unknown. And of course, we come back as always to Danny Elfman's score, which is packed with eerie sounds that evoke 50s sci-fi that Burton was aiming for. Elfman really leans into the retro sound, incorporating touches that felt straight out of old B-movie alien films. The score doesn't just add to the film's kitschy throwback feel, but it highlights the Martians' bizarre, prankster-like menace. Elfman and Burton have collaborated on countless projects, but here, Elfman was able to break out of his more gothic brooding style to create something truly playful and ominous, perfect for the film's tone. Mars Attacks was a unique, ambitious project filled with Burton's love for classic sci-fi and satirical humor, the combination of the CGI-born campiness, an ensemble of star actors, and the homage to the 50s and 60s alien invasions made it a truly original piece, even if it wasn't appreciated as such right away. With its unexpected design choices, stellar cast, and a score that honored its B-movie roots, Mars Attacks, I believe, has earned its place as a quirky, unforgettable entry in Burton's filmography. So back to what I said in the beginning. What did I think of Mars Attacks? I know it may not be everyone's cup of tea, and I get that. This is a film that defies traditional storytelling and thrives in its own chaotic, eccentric world. But for me, that is precisely where its charm lies. Mars Attacks has a unique flavor of dark humor that's both unsettling and hilarious. It never pretends to be more than a wild, tongue-in-cheek spectacle. The chaotic scenes, the unapologetically absurd tone, and that star-studded cast bring it all together in a way that's oddly captivating. When it comes right down to it, Mars Attacks is a film that dares to go all out. The bizarre gags and cartoonish violence are funny, sure, but they also show Burton's boldness in pushing boundaries. He's not afraid to lean into the weird, and that's part of what makes this work so distinct. There's a bit of satirical genius woven in here that grows on you. The film doesn't need to be taken seriously to be appreciated. Rather, its value comes from simply enjoying the ride. And maybe that's why Mars Attacks has become one of those films I can revisit whenever I'm in the mood for something offbeat and maybe even a little demented. All that said, I give Mars Attacks a solid 7 out of 10. It's certainly not Burton's most polished or nuanced work, but it holds its own in his filmography as a strange and daring piece of cinema. There's something to be said for a movie that revels in its absurdity and makes every opportunity it has to poke fun at humanity's quirks. Even if it doesn't land for everyone, Mars Attacks has a unique staying power for those of us who appreciate a little oddball humor. Now, for fans of Burton's more outlandish side, or for those who simply enjoy a good sci-fi parody, Mars Attacks is a cult classic that deserves another look. It is Burton at his quirkiest, and you've got to admire his commitment to going all in on a concept this wild. And that's going to be a wrap for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed diving into the madness that is Mars Attacks, a film that's as unpredictably and bold as Tim Burton is himself. But we're not done with Burton's dark universe just yet. Up next, we're venturing into the eerie fog of Sleepy Hollow. With Sleepy Hollow, Burton takes a deeper plunge into horror with chilling atmospheres, iconic scares, and of course, the Headless Horseman. You won't want to miss it, especially if you're a fan of Burton's more gothic, blood-soaked storytelling. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your take on Mars Attacks. Connect with us on Threads and Instagram at RealRealTalk, where you can join the conversation, share your favorite moments from the film, or let us know what you'd give the film. Higher, lower than a 7? Where are you at? This is your space to talk movies, share your insights, and help shape the Real Real Talk community. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, tell a friend who might be interested in exploring Burton's walk with us. Until next time, though, keep watching, keep loving, and keep those reels rolling.